Okay, and I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Taz Ferreira, who is a gut health, functional medicine, food as medicine specialist. Taz, I'm really excited to have you here speak to gut health as it affects ADHD and how it affects our health in general. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Justin, for allowing me to be here. I am honored.
The first thing I really want to ask you is, how did you come to this work? How did you come to specialize in gut health?
Okay, so you know what? This story actually dates back 12 years ago. Okay. I had no idea how nutrition had any part in our health, in our mind, in our life, in how it could impact us living each and every day. So when I started out 12 years ago, I have to mention everything that I had. Okay. I used to suffer with aura migraines. So, Justin, have you heard of aura migraines before?
I've heard of migraines, never heard of aura migraines.
Okay, so aura migraines are the worst type of migraines you can ever have. Okay, they're when you can't see and you have to go into a dark space, and it debilitates your day. So I actually have been suffering from migraines throughout my whole childhood, adolescence, throughout adulthood. Okay, and with time, you know what happens? It just became worse. So I had aura migraines, and then it led to GERD. GERD is an acid reflux. And this acid reflux was horrible. I was afraid to eat anything, okay? Sometimes water would scare me, okay? So then from my aura migraines, I had GERD, then that went down, right? So I start talking about here, then it would happen here, then midsection. I developed endometriosis, okay? Which whenever it was my time of month, I could not leave my room. It was horrible. And then with time, everything was with time. It wasn't all at once. Then with time, I developed Crohn's. Okay. So my health was literally falling apart. And when I got attacks and migraines hit at the same time, I I had to halt my entire day. And not one person in my life has ever told me about the connection with food. So then I started doing my own research. Like I feel that we need to be our own health advocates. I find a lot of times in the world, we put all of our trust in the medical system, and it's almost we give our power away. So I had to find a way to take my power back, to empower myself, and to truly understand what was happening in my body. So how I did that, I started looking up food. I almost I honestly have to say I felt guided to look into food, because I always thought, I'm like, Hippocrates started all of this with aloe. Where did we go wrong? Where did tradition all this medicine happen? Let's get back to basics. Let's get back to food. So I started looking into food and how food can actually reverse all of my issues. And Justin, do you know what I started concentrating on? Number one thing, I started finding so much research on the gut mind connection.
Right.
Right? So this is something back then that was not even understood. Whenever I would talk to people about it, they would laugh at me. They're like, "What? What are you saying?" And I'm like, "No, it just makes absolute sense." Right? They mimic each other. So with time, I started healing my gut. Okay. And I started learning about toxins in my gut, and then how I needed to rebuild my microbiome, right? And not just rebuild my microbiome, eat the right foods. So that's when I was introduced to organic foods, how the organic foods can help me absorb the right nutrients. So once my body started absorbing the right nutrients, because what I started understanding? I had this toxin in my body that needed to be detoxed out, and my body was not absorbing the right micronutrients. I had no idea. Not one person, a nutritionist, a naturopath, no one has ever told me this. And when we think about it, how many times do we eat a day? At least 3 times, right? Every time we consume something, it's either hurting us or healing us. So doesn't this just make sense to just think about that?
I love that yes, that outlook. I think that's actually helped me a lot in my own healing, is just thinking, is this taking me closer to health or further from health?
Absolutely, exactly. Is it taking me closer to health? I love that you said that. So with time, I started this whole lifestyle. I started this whole lifestyle change of becoming solely plant-based. And, it took time. It took over a year to help my body regenerate itself. This is not an overnight thing. A lot of people think, they're like, oh, how fast was this? And I'm like, well, think about it. It took me so long. I'm 39 now. It took me so long to get to that space of feeling horrible. Imagine how long it would take. I honestly thought it would have taken years, but less than a year, that was great for me.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I know from talking to you before that it's also made a huge impact in your son's life as well.
Okay, so thank you so much for asking me about my son. So his story is actually a part two of my story. Our kids are a reflection of ourselves. So when I had my son, so now let's picture this. I'm living my best life. I'm eating super healthy, as I think. And I am eating no junk food. We are plant-based family. My son comes into this world plant-based. Okay. I have him. Everything's going great. And by 18 months old, he develops the worst types of eczema. He develops the worst type of eczema, and then he develops what I recognize as Crohn's. Okay. And not just that, behavioral issues. He became quite violent. The way he was behaving, the way he was in preschool, it was not good. I started not recognizing him. He would have these attacks and he would become almost violent. He couldn't concentrate in class. He had rashes all over his body. And here I am again, second time in my life, I had no idea what to do. I thought I had all the answers. I thought I did everything I was supposed to do. What else? Who else eats healthier than I do, right? I'm not feeling my kids' junk. So what am I missing? So here I am, desperate and lost and alone. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm missing this piece of the puzzle that someone's keeping from me. So I'm bringing him to all specialists. I'm doing every genetic testing. I'm doing every blood testing, everything. No one has any answers for me. Okay. I would even go see my gastroenterologist. We did so many testings on him. And I asked him, I'm like, should I take him off gluten? And he tells me, he's like, Taz, absolutely not. That would be super irresponsible of you. You are not Eastern European. And he does not have the celiac biomarker. Okay, I trust him, right? What do I know about gluten intolerance? If he tells me it would be irresponsible, and I guess I needed to be Eastern European in his opinion, so I let that go. And then I go to Miami, and I'm in Miami, and I'm with my son. And wherever you would see me with my son, you would see in how much pain he was in. So Justin, I don't know if you have kids, but when you have kids, sometimes when they become sick, they're crying, sweating. It's a crying sweat, like they're wet, and it's the worst. It's the worst thing to see your kids in this all the time. So this is how we lived with my son for a while. Okay. I have no answers. I don't know what to do. And everyone's seeing the way we're living and we're healthy. And I felt like a horrible parent, like I was completely lost. So this woman came up to me and she tells me, she's like, have you ever heard of glyphosate toxicity? Okay. When she said this to me, I was pissed. Okay. I didn't take it as, as a loving response. I was truly, truly upset. I'm like, does she know who she's talking to? What is she saying? Why is she making up these terms? I had never heard of the term glyphosate before, ever. And she's like, no, no, this is a real term. And your son looks like he has glyphosate toxicity. So I'm entertaining her, okay? She's naming me all the things that it might be, you know, eczema, inflammation, all the pain, because you would see the attacks that he would go through physically in his body. And I'm like, okay. And then she presented me with something called biomedic. Okay, what is this? What is this biomedic? I've been giving my son probiotics, okay? So I'm a good parent. I'm doing good for my son. That's what I think I needed to do. So I took a look at this biomedic and I saw, okay, this is all food. Humic, fulvic, lactose spore, wheat germ extract. Okay, I can get on board with this because I'm very, medication I didn't want to introduce into his life as of yet. I wanted to find an alternative way. So I tried the biomedic, okay? So listen to this. This was Friday, okay? So it's in a raw capsule, okay? So I opened it and I would sprinkle it on his tofu scramble. Okay, every day I just open a capsule, I sprinkled on it. I hoped that it tastes good, and thank goodness it did. It tasted like oregano, okay? So he didn't even notice anything. So by Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning. Oh, I forgot to mention all of these issues he was going through. He was going to the bathroom 6 to 8 times a day and like completely coming out of him. Like I had to have change of clothes with me everywhere I went. So, this makes the process even worse. So imagine being in school, that's happening. It was horrible. So by Monday, he had his first solid bowel. First. And all his eczema went away. When that happened, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. I need to understand the ins and outs of glyphosate. What does gut health mean? I understood it a little bit during my journey, but I think I didn't do enough diving to understand it completely until it affected my son. Sometimes when something happens to us and we're going through pain, we can bury our pain aside. That, but when to our kids, we're like, there's no way in hell. No, you become a mama bear and you're like, no, I will find every alternative to help relieve your pain. So that's what I did. And then what I started understanding is that gut health was everything. This was a missing piece of the puzzle. This was a gap that I didn't even know I was missing. So once I started repairing his gut and I started learning the effects of glyphosate on the human body and just beyond children, myself, his eczema, I had no idea there were so many facets of this toxin and it can affect every single person differently. So once I started introducing that to his life, his behavior changed. Like we understand physiology. His bowels were better, his eczema was better, no more attacks in his intestines, but his behavior was focused.
It's amazing. It's really, and it's a story that, we've heard before too. It's incredible how gut health is health. But the glyphosate is actually something I'm not even as aware of. I wonder if you could go a little bit more into the research behind that and just kind of what you found with treating glyphosate toxicity.
Absolutely. Okay, so glyphosate has become my passion to talk about now. Okay, whenever you see me, I will always talk about glyphosate. So I'm a council member of the Million Mom Movement, and we are here to pass this message forward of how glyphosate is in everything. So glyphosate is when you don't eat organic foods, it's going to be sprayed with glyphosate. And glyphosate is a herbicide, okay? And it was designed to be sprayed, well, beyond sprayed. It changes the seeds, okay? So a lot of people think, oh, it's okay. I don't need to buy organic foods. I'll just wash the strawberry. I'll add some vinegar, I'll wash off really well. Yeah, but that won't help. That'll help the pesticides. That won't help the herbicides, right? Because they're changing the way the seed is. And what the seed does, it's designed to kill everything around. And it's an alive enzyme. So what happens is that when we eat it, you know what it continues doing, Justin? It kills us within. The killing continues in our microbiome. And you know what I was doing, even though plant-based doesn't mean healthy, right?
I got that. Yeah.
Yeah, plant-based doesn't mean healthy. So I wasn't eating everything organic. I was just doing the best I can. And when I started understanding the importance of glyphosate, so when I was pregnant, then I started understanding that glyphosate can get passed to the umbilical cord. So as
I never knew
parents,
that.
yes, a lot of parents do not know this. So let me challenge you, right? So this is being passed to the children. So we are responsible for our kids' microbiome. We are responsible for their immunity.
Yeah, I'm letting
Is
that
that
sink in. It's and it makes sense when you talk about, how some of your issues were then passed on to your son also, if you think of it that way.
so? Let me break down glyphosate and explain to you in a nutshell what it does. So it's a toxin, okay? It's a toxin that we eat, and it's not just in our food, okay? It's in our environment. It's in our water. It's in our park. It's unavoidable. So if you're eating all organic foods, wonderful, but you still need to be taking biomedic, as I suggest to everyone, because we need to get this toxin out. So what is this toxin? We ingest our food. Glyphosate is in our gut, right? And it accumulates over time. So let me explain to you what the intestine looks like. So the intestine has these like hair-like filaments, okay? And we call these hair-like filaments microvilli, okay? So they absorb foods and minerals, right? And our intestinal wall is supposed to be solid, so it absorbs the food. So what glyphosate toxicity does over a period of time, it causes micro holes. It causes micro holes in our intestines. And what that does, that causes leaky gut. Have we heard of leaky gut before?
Yeah, I personally suffered with leaky gut for many years. Yeah. And
Yes, and
it wreaks havoc all over the body, not just in the gut.
absolutely. Leaky gut is far too common, and a probiotic will not help, okay? As we were all told, if take that probiotic, you'll be fine. You won't. You need to get the glyphosate out. And this is how we do it. With our third-party testings, we found that Biomedic removes the glyphosate and it regrows the microvilli. So those hair-like filaments regrows. So now your intestinal wall becomes solid. So what happens here? When we have leaky gut, sorry, I'm just going back a little bit. When we have leaky gut, and let's say we eat healthy, okay? Because I get this question all the time. But I eat super healthy. I eat super healthy. No, Taz, I'm eating salads all the time. I eat super healthy. I'm super bloated. I feel awful. This is why. Because it doesn't matter how much you're eating all of these healthy foods, if you have these holes in your microvilli, you know what happens? Your vitamins and minerals are being leached out. Okay, so you're going through mineral deficiency, and mineral deficiency can affect you on so many levels. You're exhausted, you're having brain fog, depression, ADHD, I'm eczema. I mean, the list goes on and on. Dementia, there's so many things that can happen from that. So once we start detoxing it out and rebuilding the microvilli, and now your intestinal walls become solid as it's supposed to be, now your body is allowed to absorb all of the minerals and vitamins. And that's when I love introducing Power Shake, which is high alkalizing foods. Introduce high alkalizing foods to your life, because now when your body is flooded with these alkalizing greens, you know what happens? Diseases do not stick.
That's great. And when you talk about the Power Shape, are there any brands or there what do you use with your clients to help them to heal?
Okay, so what I use, I am partnered with Purium, okay? And this is a superfood farm, right? This is a company with a mission to end world hunger. And how we do that is by sharing one green juice a day, right? And as I mentioned, the Power Shake is 14 organic ingredients that everything is alkali. And once we have one of those green drinks, it equals 6 micronutrient salads. Isn't that incredible?
That is. That's a lot of salad.
Yeah. And now you're getting your full amount of micronutrients. And why is that important? You ask, why are micronutrients important? Well, that is what we need for our bodies to function. When you're going through depression and brain fog and every issue you can possibly have, it's because your body is in lack of those minerals. So now you start putting your body in those optimal state. You know what happens? You stop living and you start thriving.
I think we all want to thrive. So and we all want
Yeah.
our children to thrive as well.
Yep.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate everything that you share with us, and I know that you, as if anybody wants to find you, that your website is on your speaker page on the summit, and you've also provided a link to Purium with your $50 gift certificate, $50 off of Purium. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the time and the knowledge that you share with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for having me share my story. And I hope it will help someone out there.